Well, good afternoon and welcome to this, my 8th day of going live, 8 days of live broadcast. I'm hoping to be joined by Claire, but we're having a few technical issues at the moment, but we're trying to tackle those because today I'm going to be talking about time management with Clare Evens. Now, she's the author of the book Time Management for Dummies, which you may have heard of. I'm waiting for Claire to connect back in again at the moment because we're having a few technical issues with the sound. I'm not quite sure why. So as soon as we're back in, we'll get sorted out. Now, just going to have a brief little check, see where we are. Have I got Claire now? No, I can't see Claire coming in yet at the moment. I don't quite know what's. I think she's rebooting her system to see if that will fix the problem she's got. Now I'm quite keen to talk to Claire today because, to be honest, time management is something I'm noticing in delivering these online presentations, in going online every day. It's just going on for 10 or 15 minutes, but actually I'm spending probably an hour or two a day just in organizing it, trying to sort out people who I can interview, deciding what I'm going to speak about, finding images, and a whole range of different things that need to go together, putting everything in place. And if I don't have it in place, I've noticed from a couple of occasions that things start to go wrong. If I don't have an agenda in place, then it doesn't start to work very well. So I'm hopeful that Claire will give me a few tips and pointers on how I might be able to be a bit more efficient online. And I'm just checking to see where she's going to be. No sign of her coming back to me at the moment. So, Claire, where are you? It's the first time I've had a technical problem here on Be Live. It's generally been really stable. So I'm hoping that it's just a simple little issue that's going to be quickly resolved. So I can see now that I'm. So I've just sent her another link, get back in, if maybe that makes a difference. Oh, who knows? Anyway, I'm going to carry on chatting about the whole issue of time management and the challenges that is what it's doing live broadcasts. I thought was going to be pretty much straightforward, simple. But I suppose you think about it, when you look at yesterday, I was filmed for ITV for a news item. Few challenges with the cameraman getting to me. It was about an hour late. So by the time he got here, we then spent about 15 minutes to half an hour while he set things up, filmed me, interviewed me, filmed me at my desk, talking about the issues around hate crime. And then I got a phone call at about 5:30 to say, there's been a bit of a development in Barcelona and foreign news is taking precedence. You might not make it to the news, and I didn't. So all of that work went in just to try and put together what would have been a 2 or 3 minute slot, and it all fell apart simply because a Barcelona terrorist took priority on the news. And that's the challenge. There are a limited amount of time, huge amount of effort and time goes into it. Somebody had driven all the way from Leeds to get to me to film something, so he'd spent 2 or 3 hours on it. I'm seeing Claire's back again. I'm just bringing her back in and see if we can get ourselves going. Claire, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Can you hear me this time?
Excellent. I can now hear you. We have sound, and I will bring you up beside me, and there we are. So I don't know quite why we had a little bit of an issue with sound today.
Could have been my end. I had to do a complete reboot, and I now seem to have. I've got other issues going on, but I'll sort those out afterwards.
I think that's the problem with when you're doing live broadcasts yourself, is that if it's on TV, there's a whole team of people behind you trying to make it work. Whereas here, I'm like the proverbial a serene swan paddling like mad, tackling all the bits and pieces.
It may well have been my end. I have noticed that with Skype sometimes. If you stop it and restart it, sometimes I lose the sound. Although this new laptop,
oh, right.
It might, and I couldn't run the link on Safari. Interesting. So I'm back on Chrome. But yeah, let's see what happens.
Oh yeah, I have. Oh no, won't work on Chrome. Oh, were you on Skype on?
I was on Safari and it wouldn't connect the camera.
Yeah, Safari's terrible.
That worked. Yeah. So
I have no idea quite why, but Safari doesn't do the job at all.
Yeah.
So no, and all of the little plugins and everything else only seem to work when we're on when we're on Chrome. So I think it works in Firefox, but Safari not good. I think Apple must irritate everybody else in the world. I've noticed now that if you have an Amazon account, you can't buy anything if you use an iPhone using the Amazon app. You've actually got to go into the web browser and go into it that way. The apps, it just says, no, sorry, you can't buy anything through this.
Oh, okay.
And that's Apple wanted a slice of the action, and Amazon refused to give it to them.
Yeah, I can believe that.
So there we go. So you were the author of Time Management are the author of Time Management for Dummies. How long ago was that?
Oh gosh, I think that was it 2008? Yeah, it was a while back.
Right.
Looking here, right? Not to hand, but yeah, it was a while ago now.
Yeah, has that been helpful for you as a book?
It has, yes, definitely. Because it comes up if people do a search. People tend to find me by doing time management expert, and of course the Dummies book pops up, and it just certainly adds to that credibility. So that really helps. Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed. I was looking for you on Google, and there are quite a few Clare Evens in the world. But if I put time, indeed, that's it. Up it all comes, and you come quickly to the top. So as long as you use time management, that's it. Then it's very quickly.
Yes, yeah.
I have the because I got to pick my own new name when I changed gender. I picked a name that nobody else has. So.
Yeah, Clare Evens is not great because Evans is a very common name, particularly on the sort of the Welsh side of things.
Yeah.
Clare without the I is not so common, but yeah, there are a lot of us about.
Just pop that in there. So right, so we've known each other a long time, haven't we? Because I was thinking back, you were one of the early the early members of the Academy, so that would probably be right back. Almost before 2000. I don't know. I joined in 1998 when it was just started. So,
yeah, I wasn't that early because I started my business up in 2004-05. So I think it was shortly after that I joined, and I know there was a really good community then, and that's certainly how I met a lot of people that I'm now, like yourself, that I'm now connected with. Online, that really sort of got things started in the early days of social media, because I remember sort of signing up to Twitter coming off of that, and and Facebook. A lot of the people I was connecting with first off were from those Academy days. So
from the Academy, I think it was a great shame the Academy went. It was I think one of the best, the most useful online networks. I know there wasn't a huge number of people on it, but the level of engagement was absolutely enormous.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was really good.
I mean, the problem I find, and you must find this as well, and I know that we're both working together on Virtual Speaking Pros, and you've now got a whole course there, and I'll put the address for that later. You've got a whole course on Virtual Speaking Pros about time management, but some of the challenges I'm finding are particularly in doing these live broadcasts. I'm having to engage with Facebook, with LinkedIn, and various other things, and my God, social media is just becoming so unbelievably time consuming.
Yes.
What do you do to manage your social media engagement?
That's one of the things that I have actually outsourced quite a lot of, and I must admit I resisted that a lot because I like the social aspect and the sort of the day-to-day, the instant connections that you can get.
Right.
And I still do that, but what I've managed to sort of free up the time for myself is the sort of the day-to-day standard things that I was doing, just going in on a daily basis and posting, and some of the automation I was doing in a very manual way. So there's a lot of automation now around that can help you either cross-post or post from your blog onto social media, which is really useful because that saves a lot of time. But otherwise, it's really a matter of knowing what it is that you want to get from social media and what your purpose is for going on at any particular time, whether it is having conversations, responding to posts, tweets that are coming in, putting up some of your stuff, engaging with people on the various platforms, and then planning your time. So you can only spend 10-15 minutes at a time if you're good and you don't get sidetracked off onto all these sort of links and chats that are going on, of being very focused. So you can engage without having to spend a lot of time. So splitting it up into 10-15 minute chunks of, I'm going to go in and respond to retweets or say hello to people or follow new people that have come on, check them out. And then perhaps going in and posting up information, which that is something that you can automate and that you can outsource that aspect of it, as long as you're still then engaging. And I think it's very much about being focused in what you want to achieve and doing it in small chunks of time so that you don't end up spending an hour, 2 hours on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn.
So are there any particular tools that you strongly recommend for people to use?
There are. I use, and I love using Hootsuite. I've used that for a while now. In the early days, I was switching between Hootsuite and TweetDeck. Hootsuite, S-U-I-T.
Got that wrong.
They're very similar platforms, but what I like is that they enable you to access multiple social media platforms all in one place. So you sign into Hootsuite, and I've got access to Twitter, I've got access to LinkedIn, Facebook, profile pages, as well as groups. In Twitter, you can follow different streams. So I have streams tabs set up to follow chats that I'm engaged in, and I'm engaged in 2 or 3 of those over the course of a week. Or you can follow a list.
Can you follow multiple? Can you engage with multiple Twitter accounts on that? Or
yes, I mean I've actually got 4 Twitter accounts that I use.
I've got 3, but I tend to forget 2 of them because automatically everything goes into the one that I'm currently logged into. So
yeah. And you can actually schedule posts in there as well, which is what I was doing. And I was maybe spending an hour on a Monday morning going in, scheduling all my sort of what I would say would be standardized tweets for the week. So at least something was going out, even if I wasn't able to engage as much. And you can schedule those in. Again, it's changed. All these platforms and these utilities tend to change and expand the functionality that they've got and actually just get better over time. So yes, you can have multiple tabs for each of your Twitter accounts that you're managing. So you might have a personal one, you might have a business one, which is more you, and then you might have sort of a company brand Twitter account. So you can tweet different things in each of those accounts, or perhaps for a different group, or for instance, you might have different demographics you have a different Twitter account for, depending how you want to manage it.
The challenge I found this last week, because I'm looking to do more interviews on these shows, as I'm doing with you today, So I put a post on a couple of Facebook groups asking if anybody would be interested, and I got a very good response. But the problem is I've now got a list of 10 or 15 people who've all said, yeah, love to get involved. And I've now today started thinking, right, okay, let me sort this out. But because half of them were not friends on Facebook, so my ability to engage with them is slightly limited because they're not friends on Facebook. I'm thinking, how can I manage this more? Because on Facebook, you have a tendency it forces you into an individual engagement. And you're having to go back and forwards between them and then into their page, or into their account. And I'm trying to find a way that I can draw that information back out and hold it somewhere where I spent this morning and suddenly realized actually it's a long time since I've grouped people together, the contacts together on Facebook. I tend to treat them as all one big group, but I can't do that now because it's just taking me too long to find things. Any thoughts on managing that sort of process? Or was that dropping you in the spot?
I think groups are definitely useful for that, and I've started to do that again. And I do the same on Twitter. I have lots of lists that I manage.
Right. Yes, I do.
My Twitter followers on, and that's really useful. So I can split them out into the different types of, whether it's groups or demographics or organisations, and that makes it much easier to find people just going through a smaller list than thousands of followers. Facebook groups would be a good way of doing it. Again, it's having that discipline of, as you add people, either once a week or as you do it, just go in and move them into the groups.
Yeah.
Move all your new followers in. I tend to do that in a batch process on Twitter, and actually similarly on Facebook, just go in and add the new followers rather than necessarily doing it one at a time, just to try and keep tabs on everyone. Otherwise, I also connect with people on LinkedIn, so that can be quite a useful way of also having people in there. So it's following them.
LinkedIn gives you a lot more tools if you upgrade to premium. And that's the challenge for a lot of these sites, is that they're beginning to move to if you want more control, pay us. So before you know where you are, you're into £200 or £300 a month in subscriptions.
Yes, on all the different platforms, to
tackle them all. Is Hootsuite particularly expensive, or is that?
No,
I think I had it about years ago, but I've let it lapse.
There's a free version which is pretty good and gives you quite a lot of functionality, and I worked with that for probably the first 2-3 years, and then when I realised I needed to be doing more with the social media, I went up to the paid version. And actually, it's only, I think it's $2.99, $3, $4, plus that, which we obviously have to pay in the UK. So it's not an awful lot a month for the functionality that it's got. And I would imagine TweetDeck is probably fairly similar. They were very, very similar in the ways that they work. So it's really sort of whatever your preference is.
So are you finding between TweetDeck and Hootsuite that do they pretty much replicate the functions, or do they have different?
I haven't used TweetDeck for a very long time because I've stuck with Hootsuite, but certainly in the early days, they were sort of almost leapfrogging themselves in terms of TweetDeck would have a function that I found really useful, and then Hootsuite would bring in that function, and then they said they were sort of leapfrogging each other with different functions they were bringing in. But nowadays, I think they're probably pretty much for muchness. I don't know what's in TweetDeck because I haven't been using it. I've just stuck with Hootsuite, and I found that very useful. Okay.
Now we've both been involved with Wendy Keir on Virtual Speaking Pros now. Was it? Gosh, it's over a year now, isn't it? So maybe more than that.
Yeah.
Time does fly. I find that really, really helpful. I mean, what I'm doing here with live. Have you found that you're beginning more and more to look at live video as a means of being able to work with clients or to promote yourself?
Definitely, and I was sort of dabbling on the edge of it, thinking, because you hear that Facebook Live in particular, and live videos is the way to go, and that's what we should all be doing. So I'd done a couple, but it was that sort of lack of confidence potentially, and not knowing some of the ins and outs, and And also, I think that impression that it needs to be perfect in order before you can go off and do your Facebook Live. You've got to have perfect lighting, you've got to have the right mic, you've got to have the right camera. And I think very quickly within that group, you realise a lot of it is the content, which is what people like yourselves have been so good at giving us the information we need for that. But also the nuts and bolts, some of the technical things, but also it is more of a case of, I mean, like I'm sitting here in my office, I haven't got amazing lights and I'm essentially just using what's on my laptop. It's just out there and doing it. And the more you do it, the more it builds your confidence, and having the ability to be able to ask questions, find out what works, try it out, and just get that confidence has been really useful.
I'll be honest, I've got a drawer full of kit and a box upstairs with, I've got mixers, I've got various different microphones, I've got lavalier mics, I've got a whole range of things. But actually, it ended up coming down to my trusty, you can't see it on screen there, but my trusty Blue Yeti microphone. It's the one big investment I made. Not that expensive. I think they're about £100 or something for a Blue Yeti microphone, but it's so good in picking up the sound. I bought a Logitech H920 camera, webcam that sits on a tripod I've had for years. I bought loads of other tripods, and this is the only one that seems to work effectively. And the other thing I did was I did buy a couple of those softbox lights because my lighting is actually poor. But it actually wasn't that complex to set up what is essentially a mini studio to be able to do the work. And I think my problem was I had all this kit and didn't really know what I was doing. It wasn't until talking to people like Lottie on virtual speakers and I think I had a half-hour conversation with Lottie, and boom, completely transformed. I had people saying, "Oh, you're washed out. The lights, this and that," and I didn't realise all I needed to do was turn the lights around, point them at the wall instead of pointing them at me. And it's just simple things like that. I think a lot of people think this is quite complex, but it's certainly much more time-consuming than I expected. Because I've noticed in doing a live show like this, if you just go into it without preparation, it's much more complicated. The fact that I've got an agenda here in front of me, and I know roughly where I'm going, I know sort of what sort of things we're going to talk about, and we can move through, helps me immensely. And I've typed my agenda. The great thing about Live is that I've typed up my agenda if I want to show those things. So, for example, if we're talking about Virtual Speaking Pros, I've got it there ready to just pop up for anybody that wants to have a look. Simply at the website virtualspeakingpros.com. It's still £7, isn't it, for people to join for the first month?
Yes, yeah, just the introductory. Have a go, try it out, see what it's like.
I'm talking to Wendy. I'm going to be interviewing Wendy tomorrow. But I mean, we've put a huge amount of content on that. I mean, I've done 5. I think you've done 5 as well, isn't it now? So we've and Joe and Lottie. So just in terms of what we've put on, there's each of those is a 20-minute show plus question and answer, which actually makes it more practical because we're answering specific topics. I think the thing is that as one of the presenters, I've still learned huge amounts from you and Joe and Lottie and Wendy anyway. So I've been benefiting from being able to go in, and I'm beginning now to learn from the other participants because they're moving on and feeding back, and it quite surprises me that speakers and particularly women in small business aren't grasping this whole area of live broadcast as quickly as I would have thought. Now the tools are there.
I think some of that is the confidence, and as you say, I think a lot of it is the time. But if you spend the time up front committing to this is something I'm going to do, and you invest that time, then it makes it easier. And as you said, I think we've all learned things about the practical side of preparing for it, running the session, and what you need to do afterwards, and having the support and being able to have someone that you can ask questions of save reinventing that wheel and take some of the fear element out of it of, oh, okay, maybe it's not actually that difficult, or as difficult as I'm perhaps thinking it's going to be. And you actually get out.
So other ways you're looking in the future at being able to do more live video work for your own business outside of virtual?
I've just kicked off my FB live sessions, which I was doing them on the Friday, but time-wise that wasn't working for me. So I've switched them to 4 o'clock on a Wednesday. Short topics, time productivity topics, along with Q&A if people are on the call, just little snapshots at the moment, and then building that up.
Excellent. So you're doing it, that's now committed to a regular basis?
Yes.
I found that's been really, really helpful for me by locking in and saying, right, I'm going to do this. Now I'm doing a daily thing, which is a stretch for me. If I wanted to really, really push myself, once I get to the end of this 31 days, I'm going to then schedule out something like a show on one of my pages, and then maybe some short pieces on others. So it'll be a little bit more structured, but it won't be every single day, I don't think. Although I was listening today to somebody saying that they were introducing somebody who's done 365 days live, and it has absolutely transformed their business and created so much income that I thought, maybe I should keep this going. But I think this whole idea, just be there and get up and do it. But what has happened is that because I'm self-employed, and I tend to be a little bit, if I haven't got anything specifically fixed for the day, if I'm not careful, the day disappears. I don't know whether you find that. There's no particular thing planned, so we'll just get started. And before you know where you are, I think, oh my God, it's 12 o'clock. What happened? It's lunchtime, and the morning has disappeared on emails and a few odd little bits and pieces. Because I've got specific things, I think I've got to have that ready now. That's got to be done. If I'm going to do that, and I'm now thinking, right, I've got a 4 o'clock show. I need to put that out and promote that at least this morning. I'm going to try and get promoting it a bit further in advance, but you've got to try and get people to come to the show. So I think that's the important thing. It's forcing me to actually manage my time much more effectively, and that's actually making me more productive, because I know I've got certain deadlines. I've got to be there at certain times. Certain things have got to be done by the time I get there, and that's been a really, really useful discipline for me.
Yeah,
just having a fixed time to be done.
Something interesting you just said there, Rikki, was if I haven't got anything planned. And that's where, if you spend a few minutes at the beginning of the day or the beginning of the week to think about what is it I want to achieve at the end of the day, and at least plan that in, so it gives you that focus rather than drifting into email, looking at messages that have come in, voicemails, and just going along with whatever happens to be coming up at the time. And to a certain extent, a lot of us are driven by our inboxes. So if you actually make a decision at the beginning of the day, this is what I want to get done, or the week, these are the things I want to achieve by the end of this week, and then plan in the time when that's going to happen, so you don't then just drift and you do have a focus. So being able to have a much more productive day if you work in that way. Sometimes you have a sort of a free flow day when you might not have anything specific in, but you can still create a bit of structure by thinking, I'd like to get this done. I want to focus on producing this blog post or a video, setting up the agenda for this, etc. Just give yourself something specific rather than just, I'll see what turns up.
And I think it's probably good to give yourself deadlines for trying to get these things done as well, rather than it's just got to be, because it's the fact something's got to be done by a specific time. I always used to, when I was employed, your work is always fixed by deadlines, meetings and things you have to have done. And I've not done that so much as in self-employment. If I've got if I'm speaking at a conference, then I've got a project and I know the time, I've got to work to the timetables. But when I'm not, I can see now that my time has just been slipping away because I haven't had those deadlines. Anyway, we're running to pretty much to the end of time now. I don't want these to run, my little things to run too long. It's been really great to sort of, if anybody wants to know, that's your Facebook, right? Timecoach.Clare Evens on Facebook. You can get the Time Management Dummies there. Do come along to virtualspeakingpros.com. Lots of stuff from Clare there. And I look forward to seeing you doing your, so it's Wednesdays at 4:00. You're doing your...
Wednesdays at 4:00 is my little live session. So it would be great to have people on asking questions. At the moment, I'm focusing on valuing your time. So there's another couple of sessions to come up on that. And
that's from your Facebook page.
That's on the Facebook page that you've got up there, not my personal one. I'm running them off that, and then I do post them out.
Yeah, I've moved this off onto one of my Facebook pages today. I'm still trying all sorts of things. I have noticed that if you once you schedule the show with like this, you can actually then share the scheduled date to all the pages and to your other Facebook page, and then the moment you start, it all comes up live. Yeah, so I think I'm simultaneously being broadcast on about 6 pages at the moment in groups. So, it's all fun. I'm learning a huge amount as we go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Rikki.
My pleasure. See you again soon. Take care. Yeah. So thank you, Clare. There we are. That's my show for today. Looking at time management really is quite a challenge to sort of keep yourself on top of time when you're going live and doing live shows, but I'm learning quite a lot, and I shall have a little quick look into time management. I shall be back tomorrow when my guest is Wendy Keir, who is the founder of Virtual Speaking Pros, has helped me enormously by inviting me first to talk about storytelling there and from the work we've done since. So I'll be talking to Wendy, and she's also a particularly expert in the area of using email marketing. So hopefully we'll get some great tips from her on how to improve our email marketing. So until tomorrow, 4:00, I look forward to seeing you then. Take care for now. Bye.